This is an international podcast transmission. Is anyone out there? If you're listening, you've reached the No Fixed Agenda podcast.
Welcome back to No Fixed Agenda, presented by Bubs Naturals. I'm your host, Big Sexy, and I'm joined by my co-host, the everyday average Mexican superhero, Omar Hernandez.
What an entrance, bro. What an entrance.
I tell you what, every now and then I'm going to throw it out there. And that's not a name that I've given myself, by the way. Just to reference that to anybody listening.
And nobody's ever called me the everyday average Mexican superhero, which is too long, in my opinion. I think we need to abbreviate that somehow.
Somehow, but I got to come up with a good acronym for it, though. That's the problem. That's just my special name for you.
Yeah. Well,
really, it's just my special
name. Great intro.
We've brought on a friend of mine, an old neighbor of mine.
Neighbor, yes.
Right? He used to live right next door to me across the street. And as I feel like he's everybody's favorite Southern neighbor. The Southern hospitality out of this guy just kind of oozes out of him. And and so
I just want to sit on a porch with some sweet tea, dude.
Oh, yes. Oh my God, yes. Yes, that sums it up right there.
They're right there, dude.
So Dave O'Connor he's an entrepreneur, author. He's a motivational speaker when it comes to the sales aspect of business. Yeah. And he's now a podcast host. And he's got his own podcast. He's also got a secondary podcast he just launched. So we're talking to Dave today. And the thing that I knew about him is that the guy can talk, and he can talk about almost anything and nothing at all. Yeah.
His stories were amazing. And to me, I love that he had a story for pretty much every topic that we brought up.
Oh my God. Yes.
And they were funny. Yeah. They weren't just boring stories.
Well, the guy's hysterical. And I think that what got brought up in the conversation of where some of his humor came in and how that kind of related to when he grew up to where he is now. And honestly, the topics that he discusses in his podcast and we talked about in our show definitely have a relation. Like, you can pull something out of every single story he had. And it's, we talk about the cats in the rafters and how, trying to problem solve for one piece that almost sometimes creates another one if you try and overthink it. Right. And so those are some of the little tidbits that he threw out there. And I thought it was really fun. And out of all the conversations we've done so far, I think this one was probably the most hysterical.
His stories weren't just stories, though. He legitimately took his life experiences growing up in the South with his mom, his wife, and all that, and applied it to ways to help people be inspired to make sales, to write his book, to share in his podcast. But his life stories are legitimately helping people out on a daily basis. Yeah. Which is pretty cool.
Yeah. It's awesome. And I know as a listener that everybody's going to have fun listening to this one, because it was, for us, it was just nonstop laughs. Yeah. Like every 5 minutes that we were busting out laughing. It was great. Yeah. So I hope you guys really enjoy. Welcome to the podcast, Dave O'Connor.
This is No Fixed Agenda, brought to you by Bubs Natural. Their mission statement is simple: live better, live longer. Bubs helps fuel people to reach their maximum human potential through supplements sourced from nature's highest quality ingredients, while giving 10% of all proceeds back to charity. Learn more about their NSF sports certified collagen peptides and electrolyte drink mix at bubsnaturals.com. Won't hold it against you.
Yeah. Well, I have a counterpunch for all of that. It's a great place to be from, and I don't live there. I chose to be here.
There you go.
Then, and then those who still live there, it's a great place to be from. Over the top of that.
Right over there. It is a great place.
I don't even get that. Yeah. I was playing last night, and I saw in the crowd somebody had a Bama shirt on. And I just casually between songs went, "Roll Tide," and they're like that. They're from here. Their daughter went to Alabama, and they think they can be honorary rednecks. Come on, man. You're from San Diego. What are you doing? There's no mullet. What are you doing? Dude, do you hate Auburn yet? You're not a Bama fan. Yeah. Shut up. But they pay tuition, so I guess they deserve that.
Well, but don't you think that I think Alabama has one of those like just signature statements, like everybody knows Roll Tide really quick.
Yeah.
It's funny. Like there was a commercial that ESPN did years ago. They do those Sports Center commercials.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
And they had that Roll Tide commercial. And everybody rolled.
Oh, yeah.
For must have been 4 or 5 months after that, you hear a lot of people saying Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Oh, yeah. Roll Tide. Roll Tide. Under their breath because they want to measure the crowd. So Reese Davis,
Mm-hmm.
he worked at my father-in-law's pharmacy.
Okay.
Reese Davis is one of the nicest guys I know.
Really?
I mean, you see these guys.
Like he was in pharmaceuticals before.
Briefly, I mean, he's got the face and the skill set for what he does. And I would love to talk shit on the guy, but he's so nice. Horrible athlete. I remember one time we're the same age, and I blocked his shot up into the crowd one time, and I'm thinking, I'm the only guy, the only with my skill set. I've never blocked a shot before. That's what that feels like. But he is the nicest guy, and he tries to hide the fact that he went to Alabama. He's an Alabama guy, and he's calling all these other, and he is so professional.
Yeah. So country music, right? Is it the barbed wire band you were playing in last night?
It was, yeah. And then I'm in I don't know what you call this band. I'm playing in a band tonight called Hot Stone Meat Party.
Oh, I've seen that on Facebook.
Hot Stone Meat Party.
Yeah, honestly, the drummer for Barbed Wire got me into this band because, I grew up in the studios in Muscle Shoals.
Okay.
I lived across the street basically from Muscle Shoals Sound, where the Swampers and Skinnerd and all that got famous. In the South, I'm a Baptist guy. Grew up in a Baptist church, and you learn real quick. You have a lot of fans because you got all family.
Yeah.
And it's not your ability.
Yeah.
It's your availability. And so there aren't many keyboard players in Southern California. And so I play the Hammond organ and the keyboards. I'm not that good, but there's not many of us. So it's a seller's market. And so this band, the drummer from Barbed Wire, said, hey, we need to add some keys. And I'm like, you're the drummer for the other band, so there's not going to be any conflicts. I'm in. And we're playing some crazy stuff from the 70s, 80s, 90s. Some of the stuff I've never even heard before. It's more of the alternative 90s stuff. But, man, we have a great time.
On the countryside? Or
that's the rock side.
Rock side.
So what I was telling you is it's really funny. Dave plays in the country band, but he's a huge death metal.
Yeah, dude.
See?
For the listening audience, if you look at Dave, he does not look like he just turned his head upside down. Yeah,
give me the horns.
Yeah, typical Southern white guy with the set of glasses, you guys.
Yeah. My son and I, we go to, I don't want to throw concert shirts away. We have so many black shirts with every band from the last 30 years. Some of them are crop tops now.
Yeah,
I won't throw them away.
Yeah.
And so I've lined my studio, when I record, I'm thinking, I got to soundproof this. And my wife's on me, get rid of all that stuff. I went, it's lined.
Really?
I'm sitting there talking and, Static X. Slayer.
Yeah.
And so we're going to, I have a conflict, and it was awkward because it's coming up, and I went, I can't do that weekend. We'll make it worth your while. I can't. And they said, we'd like a reason, because these are fairly influential people. I went, it's because I'm going to the Northwest Terror Fest with my son up in Seattle. Hey, got to have priorities, right? And my son, God cursed me. I must have been bad at some point in my life. I can't think of that period. Can you? No. He cursed me because my son is a drummer. I've been married my whole life. I don't even look both ways when I cross the road. I've been married.
I listened to your episode.
Did you?
Of your wife. Yeah, your wife's trying to kill you. Yeah.
I said, when did you meet your wife? We're from Alabama. So whenever mom brought her home from the hospital, that's when I met my wife. She's going to kill me for that. I used to, when we were dating, they had a little bit of land, and I would, for gifts, I'd give her a pet. Her dad was just like, another animal? Are you kidding me? She's never here. I have to take care of this animal. Well, my son was like 5 or 6 for Christmas. He got him a drum set. Yeah. And just looked at me and winked like, payback's a bitch.
Damn.
But no, he's great.
Yeah, my son's a drummer too.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Is he still here in Oceanside?
He is in North Park now.
North Park went south on us.
Yeah, oh, he did. He sold out. And he misses Oceanside so much because they would walk down to the street fair on Thursdays, and it's just the whole scene is all. I hated he moved too because I like coming up.
Yeah. So backstory. Oh, and I told you a little bit of this. So I met Dave back in 10, 11 in Solana Beach, and there's one thing that you said on one of your podcast episodes the other day that I love that kind of comes back to this is, so we moved in across the street, and probably one of the coolest neighborhood that we've ever lived in, doesn't it?
Oh, 100%.
Like it was from a social setting, it was phenomenal. Everybody got along. 99% of people.
It was always one or two.
It was a cul-de-sac. It was insulated.
Yeah, it was amazing. And Solana Beach obviously has a really good culture anyway, but it was one of the coolest neighborhoods we've ever lived in. Dave and his wife lived across the street. Always had the best parties. Do you guys still do O'Connor Fest?
Oh, we did. They didn't know it. The neighborhood didn't know it, but we did our last O'Connor Fest, and we knew it was the last one. And nobody else knew it. And so we hit it pretty hard.
But you don't do O'Connor Fest.
Vegas people don't even talk to each other. It's so hot, they stay inside.
I would agree with that.
But we've just been there 8 months.
So, and I will preface this with the story afterwards, but how's the cock in Vegas?
I know your wife misses. I would walk out in the morning and I would see your wife just staring longingly
at the cock?
At my cock.
Really?
Yes. We can tell that story, the full story. So.
I'm blushing.
Or we can just leave it like that. Yeah.
Mic drop.
The mic drop. 100%. Episode ends right here, you guys. Because the gaze that Jeff and Dave have right now is real, you guys.
He completes me.
So we move in, and I can't remember if you guys brought it in afterwards or if we moved in. Anyway, Dave has this huge 6 foot tall rooster.
That's the cock, you guys.
If you're gonna clean it up,
we're gonna make it nice.
You
and
could have just
tidy.
said 6 foot cock, dude.
It's a 6 foot cock.
I like it that way.
Yeah. So Dave's got a 6 foot cock in his backyard at all times.
Yep. Oh, I got so many stories about that. You want me to tell where it came from?
Yeah, I know. I don't think I know.
You don't know?
So we go to, it was a street fair. It might have been, I think it was in Oside. We go in, and of course, I'm a silly human being.
No.
At times I try to be sophisticated. I've been called the Bob Saget of motivational speaking.
Yeah, baby.
We'll go into a group and I'm talking, then we'll go out that night and, dude, you're an idiot. I think a booger joke is still funny. So we're at this, my wife drags me to these street fairs and we go through, and it's the same stuff. I love them. I go to the food court or whatever, but we go to this area and they have these like sheet metal roosters and pigs and whatever. So I've got my cup of coffee and I go over to the lady. I went, oh, nice. That's impressive. And my wife sees me talking to her and I'm thinking, oh, if that was a chicken instead of a cock, we could have ham and eggs. My wife sees I'm taking a shine to this, and I make sophomoric jokes on the way home. So I travel a ton. I don't travel quite as much, but I come back and it's like Father's Day weekend. I come in late on a Friday. So I get up Saturday morning and walk out, and we have like where he's talking about, we had this like deck area, overlooks the backyard, small backyard such that it is. And there it is, this magnificent cock. And out of the back of, she's coming up the stairs, she goes, Happy Father's Day. I don't cry a lot. I was back there with my coffee in one hand, pointing at my cock, crying like a baby. I went, oh, you know me. She said, yeah. She had a convertible, the convertible BMW.
Yeah, okay.
They turned it into 1877 cars for kids. But anyway, she said, yeah, I went to Oceanside and got this, and I was driving down the 5, one hand on the wheel and one hand on your cock. And I went, we've been married 35 years, and I've been trying to get you to do that. You wait till I'm out of town. But anyway, it's so many sophomoric jokes. We'll be at a party in the cul-de-sac or whatever, and they say, have you seen Dave Scott? Come here. You would be surprised at how many people walk with me around the corner.
Yeah,
I had no idea we're going to do 10 minutes on the cock today.
No, and I'll bring this back because the neighborhood was so like just a really great community. And I love the fact that on one of your podcasts, you called yourself the social chancellor of the community. I was like, honestly, everybody would meet in Dave's garage. Everybody would meet in Dave's backyard.
Yep.
It was just like the epitome of the center point of the community.
It was weird. It was
the cock.
Everybody was so. I think my cock brings people together.
It probably does.
But you know why I did the first O'Connor Fest? Do you even know?
No.
So I would talk to people. I've never lived. I grew up in the South, and I've always lived in either a circle or a cul-de-sac. I've never picked it for that reason. But the gentleman across the street had lived there for 30 years, and then the lady next to you. I won't say names, but the lady next to you, she lived there for 30 years too.
Yeah.
Wow.
They had never met. Wow. They are 100 yards away from each other.
Wow.
And so I thought, I'm Irish. I'm from Alabama. I claim it's an excuse for drinking, I guess. But I said, okay, that's Saturday closest to the St. Patty's Day. Let's just have a few people over. Oh my goodness. So they met. I see these people. I've known them for, we moved in July. This is in March. So I knew everybody just from being around and the noise coming out of the garage. But I saw these people who had been neighbors for 30 years and never met. I saw them introduce each other.
Wow.
And so I thought, okay, that's why the whole theme was bringing Viva Court together, celebrating Viva Court. And so we did it every year, except for COVID, for 10 years. Yeah. Koozies, everything.
That's that Southern hospitality.
Yeah. And by accident,
100%,
I was lonely, man. It's Southern hypocrisy is what that is.
Southern hypocrisy?
Yeah. I'll kick that Southern accent. I was with my daughter all last week, so my accent right now is probably at a preem. Yeah. Because women hold that Southern accent.
It's not an Irish accent, by the way.
Is she still down in Nashville, right?
She's in Nashville. She came out. She had a big corporate event this weekend. So we booked in, like last weekend, she came in. We did a bunch of craziness, and then she had her corporate event. She's very proud of her. My kids are 33 and 31.
Wow.
So I talk about going to shows with my little boy.
Yeah.
Or my son. And how old's your little boy? Well, he's 33.
Well, for the longest time, I'm just going to say, for the longest time, I didn't even know Will's first name because you always, boy.
The boy.
Hey, boy.
I did call him. I did.
So for the longest time, I was like, what's Steve's son's name?
Yeah. I know. I had to ask my wife. And the problem is when you call him that's how people know him. So other people call him that. And so I've started calling him by his given name.
Will. It's Will, right?
It's Will and Victoria.
There you go.
Shout out to them. They're great.
I want to know about your pod. I did listen to a couple episodes. I love my wife's trying to kill me.
We've got questions.
Yeah, we got questions. We got questions about the episode. So first of all, for the audience, what's the name of your podcast?
OTALKING with Dave.
OTALKING with Dave.
And it's spelled correctly, the Queen's English. OTALKING, no G, with Dave. Yeah, it's on it. You can find it. It's on all the...
So for the listeners, before you get into it, it's not like this. It's Dave talking the entire time.
Right now.
Yeah, right now. And just like it is.
Just like it is right now. But I was like, what kind of podcast am I going to be listening to where some guy's just talking? I was like, I'm going to snooze. There's no way. Yeah. There wasn't a dull moment, dude.
Oh, well, good.
Yeah, it wasn't a dull moment.
Well, that makes me feel good because it bores the shit out of me.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. But the evolution to this is it's crazy how we got here.
Yeah. So so I definitely want to get into that because you've always been an author and motivational speaker from the time that I met you. So I want to, we're talking about the podcast. So I want to talk about the podcast now and we'll go backwards.
Sure.
What I find great about the podcast is the Southern stories or the way that stuff comes out of your mouth.
Yeah, 100%. Dude.
Keeps you interested. But I love how you're like the stories you bring into it. Like still one of my favorite ones is
Cats and the Raptors, man.
And then I listened
saved
to
my life.
I listened to the other one, the turd in the punch bowl. I was like, it's all the stories you've brought into your podcast have just been so relatable as far as what, teach and write about. And it's really funny to listen to just you talking itself.
Yeah. I'm going to take that as a compliment with just me talking.
Yeah.
It's endearing.
But what and Omar and I have had this conversation. We want to know the backstory of this is the commercials. I don't give honestly.
Look.
If you decide not to listen to Dave's podcast at all for Dave himself, listen to the fucking commercials.
Dude, it's like you're looking into my soul.
Like,
No one will sponsor me. I'll create my own sponsors.
Oh my God.
dude, if you
That
if
makes
you're
me
not-
that
like-
makes me so happy.
Yeah.
I get probably I don't know how many I get just asking questions or here's content or can you do something on this? About one out of every 5 or so. What Amish tech team?
I love the cult.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. My wife hates the cult, by the way.
Yeah.
Was it cult university
Cult leader university.
Yeah.
CLU.
Yeah. See, it's an accredited university.
If you don't have a clue, we're the school for you. Yeah. It makes me happy you guys get that.
Dude.
Pause.
I
put them in there to break it up. What about Greenhorn?
Oh,
Greenhorn Supply. Do you get that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I still, the first one that I ever listened to was the Amish Tech Company.
Amish
And
Tech
I-
Company.
and at first-
It's
at
Amish
first-
Tech Team. Come on.
Amish Tech Team.
Sorry, my
Amish Tech
bad.
Team. And when I first listened to it, I was like, this could not be fucking real. And then all of a
This is-
sudden, you get to the very end. Like, he didn't fix my computer, but
Yeah.
he made me a workbench.
Fix the roof and planted 2 rows of corn in the backyard. But see, I'm from the South. You go across the Tennessee line, you had to go there because when I grew up, everything was dry and all the clubs are across the line. And to go back to playing music,
right.
I played in a Baptist church, so you play in a club across the line at night. You go play in a Baptist church and you look out there and you realize I'm really playing to the same people.
Yeah.
But anyway, you go across there and there's a huge Amish community. So I grew up with that.
Yeah.
And we would make total respect to that community. They work harder than I ever will in,
Yes.
in their
100%.
craftsmanship or whatever. But that's just part of the background of my life. And I remember one time somebody said, a computer screwed up. Or I went, who can we call? I went, well, don't call an Amish guy. That's from 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, boom, everything I do comes from the past. And that's where one of my foundational beliefs is. You're equipped with everything you need.
Yeah.
It's from your past.
Yeah.
Stories, stuff that's not necessarily applied to it. Cats on the rafters.
Yeah.
You can't get through it till you get in it. That's from the farm. All this stuff.
Yeah.
If you can recall it and apply it, and you'll remember a story a lot longer than you will a 25 slide PowerPoint.
Yes.
And so that's, if I have any charm, and my mom, bless her heart, she thought I had great charm. She wanted me to be a preacher.
Yeah.
That didn't work out. But anyway, it is the fact that if my story makes you think of a dear relative or someone special in your life, that's all I need.
Yeah.
Because you'll go away with, that was a great experience.
Yeah.
I don't know what that crazy redneck said, but he made me think of whatever. So yeah, it's been a great evolution. This picked me. I did not pick it.
So where did the commercials, like, how did you, because somebody does those commercials for you. Like, did you? No.
I write the script. My wife thought, oh, that's great. This guy you got is a genius. I wrote that. And we can say where I got it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. $5. I said, dude, I need, here's what it is. It's a sarcastic commercial. I need you to do this. Here's the script. Less than 24 hours. And I said on that, you know what I was thinking? I was thinking of Gangster's Paradise.
Yes.
Weird Al.
Yeah.
Living in And so I said, do that with something like that in the background. $20 later, comes back. I've got it. Next day, it's on there. And I use the same guy.
I never even thought about that. That is so.
I've used the same guy for 2.
That is so legit.
And I'll use him from now on because he is almost always dead on. Same guy did Cult Leader University.
Wow.
A different guy did Greenhorn Supply.
So you just go on a Fiverr, hey, I need somebody to do this, read the script for me.
That's it. Now I just go to that guy.
Got it.
And he did in the Amish thing. I said, do a different voice. And that's where he does like the testimonial in the middle.
I got it.
And so that's where it comes from. And where it comes from is, honestly, you talk about one guy talking. I'm already bored with my voice in the last 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I think we need to break this up. And someday I'll put sponsors in there. I'll make up my own sponsors.
Yeah.
And it creates that, because I deal with some serious topics, and I'm sure you guys deal with this. Half of the time people are digging into, they're used to the motivational or try to get a nugget.
Yeah.
Which I can't hardly believe. I mean, who would want to hear anything I have to say? I'm a redneck from Northwest Alabama. And people will call in during my wife's trying to kill me. I had a good friend called and he said, I was driving and he's got 10 minutes left and there's no message here. What's he doing? That's more me. I am more crazy. And so the podcasts are going to evolve into more of this type deal with guests and just like a sitting around the table in the garage. Just push record and gold happens.
Yes. And dude, that's the biggest thing that we wanted to do.
That's where this kind of came
you guys
from.
are onto it though. Yeah. I listened to some on it because I drive from Vegas to here a lot. I'm thinking, these guests they're having, dude, I'm going to lower the average IQ by 50 points when I walk in the door.
Yeah, I
wrote down some 5-syllable words. I lost
Please don't use them.
No. Alabama's the longest word I know.
Yeah. I think that was one of the things that when we started having this conversation, it was like, we just want to have real, raw conversations and have it where it's, yes, there's an idea based on this conversation. Like, why are we bringing this person in to talk about it? Does it always get to that point of the conversation, right? Like the first episode we did, it ended up all being about addiction. I and Omar and Steven talking about rehab completely.
Yeah.
And we've had those conversations too, where we brought in a friend of mine who's a former Olympian and special forces operator. And I was thinking, we're going to talk about Olympics the entire time. Like, no, I think we spoke about the Olympics maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And everything else was like his whole entire insight about special operations and how in his performance anxiety.
Yeah. Oh.
And the stress that you have as an elite athlete, as a special operator, and then it broke it down. I was like, shit, this is like completely 180 of what we thought.
It got deep too.
It got deep and
beautiful.
Yeah, it was. And that's where we've seen some of these conversations go. It's like, Omar asked me before you came, he said, what are you going to talk to Dave about? Honestly, the guy's a podcaster. He's a motivational speaker. He's an author. And I'm like, let fucking Dave just talk his way into something because
that was the biggest thing.
So I blocked out 4 hours. Is that what we got? My granddad said, you can turn a sentence into a paragraph quicker than anybody.
Real quick. No, that was the biggest thing. Why was the podcast created?
I got to go way back. So I grew up innately shy. I was just crippled.
I could not tell.
Crippled. I'm serious.
Really?
What do you mean? Did you know this?
No, up until probably high school. I mean, early on, I found if I can make somebody laugh, that's a drug. But I was still a little shy with it. And so I would do certain things. I could sing and play the piano in church. I could do that. And before I would sing, I was so nervous, I would actually say something. I remember one time I was about to play a song, and I said, tonight I'd like to do a song by Michael W. Smith. It's a suckers crowd. It's a bunch of Baptist people, the availability, and they're like, oh, look at little Davey. And I said, I'd like to do a song by Michael W. Smith. And I played, and they said, but I don't know any songs by Michael W. Smith. And they started laughing. I'm thinking, all right, I can do whatever I want now.
Yeah.
I can burp in the mic and it's everything. But that was somebody else's stuff. And to talk, absolutely ridiculous. So as time went on, I got a job in sales. I'm an industrial guy, industrial distribution. I've done that my whole career. And I would build sales teams.
So Omar that's his background.
Dude, we got to talk.
Yeah.
So a company I was with, they said, okay, we're not on the West Coast. That's how I got to the West Coast. They said, Dave, we don't know about this guy, but he is a culture fit. He's a people person. Yeah. Let's get him out there. He can recruit the team. And it was wildly successful. But sales is a lonely business. So you get your sales team, you get your sales manager or whatever, and then people struggle. And, this guy was struggling. I come to town and I talked to him. I said, okay, here's what you can do, man. I've done this just do this. You're better than you think. You're doing everything right. Just a tweak here and a tweak there. Mm-hmm. All right. Didn't even think about it because I had been through that myself. Then I hear somebody calls me and says, yeah, you talked to Jamie the other day. Can you come give me an OTALK? I went, what's an OTALK? He went, I talked to Jamie and he was down in the dumps and he said, you need to talk to O'Connor. You need an OTALK. Whoa. Named itself.
No shit.
Next thing, because it's O apostrophe. Yeah. That apostrophe has cost me, you try to rent something and with or without the apostrophe.
Yeah.
But anyway, that caught on. And then a team started asking me, can you come talk to my team? Sure. What are we going to do? And it was what I knew about. And I was older. I wasn't shy anymore at all, but it was, success was built off of this. And then I was in the San Francisco airport and I was sitting tired at the end of the week and everything I do is off of stories. And I heard a couple of yuppies behind me. They're so buttoned down and they're a name brand from head to toe. They could walk in and be a spokesmodel somewhere. And I heard one of them say, "Man, I'm in the rafters on this." And I was thinking, I'm just tired. And then the other one said, "Dude, I'm in the rafters too." And finally I said, "Okay, guys." I turned around and said, "Did you say you're in the rafters?" He went, "Yeah." And they were looking at me like, who's this guy? I said, "What does that mean?" And they were like, "Hey, we got so much going on, man. It's just, we're in the rafters." I said, "Where did you hear that?" And he said, "My buddy heard somebody talk in Sacramento a couple of weeks and he told us a story and blah, blah, blah. Here's what it means." I went, "Dude, I know what it means. I made that up. That's my story." Wow. That's when I was 18 years, but I didn't go any further with them. But I'm thinking, you're telling me what that means in San Francisco and I'm from BFA?
Yeah. And
so I'm thinking, I may have something here. And that's how OTALKs started being. Instead of people would come up to me, I would speak. I spoke at in Vegas at like 1,600 people. And I'm used to doing 10 to 12, very intimate. Oh, this was blowing up. But I would mess with people in the front row and whatever. Yeah. And I'm thinking, okay. And then people came up to me and said, "Hey, I was taking notes, but we started laughing and having a good time. And I quit taking. Do you have anything written down?" I went, "No." After a few of those requests, so I wrote some books. And a good solid third grade level. I should have written them in crayon, honestly.
But the good thing is I'm at a second grade level, so we're good. Okay. We're good. You're gonna make me grow.
I can tutor you. Yeah. Get you up to that. But I do it short because I was on a lot of short flights. I'm thinking they can read this in an hour and a half. It's nothing. It's simple. And from that, I have never booked a gig. It's all referrals. People ask me. I have never sold a book. People ask for them. And so it's just a side stuff. Every company I've worked for, my book's part of their curriculum. And not because it's good. It's not. It's embarrassing because you actually write it down. And so years later, I'm traveling constantly. Up until last year, I'm on the road 80% of the time.
Wow.
I'm thinking, I do any faith-based stuff because I grew up in the church. I do for free. It's not about the money. I can't stand to see someone twisted and worried and concerned because I've been there. And if I can tell them a story or remind them of a story that will help them deal with it, I don't mean to sound noble or philanthropic.
There's that big
but
word.
That's why I do it. Notice how I talk?
But go ahead.
But that's how it started. I think that's why it's taken on a life of its own. Yeah. It's just because it's for the right reasons. And then out of sheer laziness and lack of work ethic, I'm thinking, I can get this stuff out. I could do a podcast. And that way, right now, I'm going through some of the OTALKs, so it's a little more structured. Guys, it's about to get crazy.
I guess that's the question is everything that you've done so far on the podcast, has that been some kind of conversation you've done to some of these teams and stuff? Is that
kind of,
or some of those stories that you're bringing out?
Oh, they're all the same stories. Anybody that's known me for very long, I used to start telling a story and the group would, like this or hold up 3 or 4. What are we doing? Is this a cult? What are we doing?
Yeah.
No, that's how many times we heard the story.
Yeah. we got to get Dave's wife for you.
Oh man, you better slow everything down. She'll tell you a few things about me that I don't know. But that's how it's evolved, and I love the evolution because you never run out of stories because you never run out of experiences, and you'll see something. The purple car, different stories. You'll see something that reminds me of that. And most 4 or 5 of them are set OTALKs. The rest are an offshoot from that, or someone will call in. One on drama recently, a guy called in and said, "Dude, I'm really dealing with a lot of drama in my life." Or turd in a punch bowl. You guys have a turd in your punch bowl. Yeah. At least one.
Yeah.
That difficult person is just
yeah.
And if you don't, you are the turd.
Yeah.
Very true.
But there's never an end of material because things will remind you. My wife used to say, don't bring your business stuff home to solve our problems.
Like,
I said, you got it backwards. That I'm taking my stories from the past with my granddad or my aunt or somebody like that. I apply that to business, and that's what's made that grow.
Yeah.
It's just sheer common sense or taking it down to simplifying stuff. That's when you can think clearly because we're too busy, man.
Yeah.
We're just too busy. And that's what Cats in the Rafters is about. It saved my life, man. I was having migraines and ulcers and all sorts of health problems.
Yeah.
And that brought that back from, dude, I'm just like those freaking cats.
Yeah.
And it helped me. How did those cats get away? And segment it all out. It all went away. And that's when I started being successful. To what degree I am successful, but
that's pretty.
I am a redneck from Alabama. I lived in San Diego for 10 years. So.
That's pretty powerful. You're basically taking your life experiences and stories, and you're applying them to help people.
Recall and application.
That's it.
Yeah.
Recall and application.
That's it. That's pretty powerful, man. And if you think about it, you said something that really resonated with me, and that was that you used to be terrified of just being on stage or speaking. That was one of the reasons why I did not want to do a podcast. Like legit. It was like, I sound like a fucking idiot. This is what I thought, right?
And
I sound like an idiot.
I will say you've gotten really good, by the way.
Yeah.
I would kill for your speaking voice.
Yeah.
I would.
I know. I always got to turn down the volume.
I got to step away from the mic. I'm always like 2 feet away from the mic.
I feel like Elmer Fudd over here compared to this guy.
Yeah, that's what Steven said. He goes, you want me to talk next to, or Mike said, he was like, you want me to talk next to that guy's voice? But I did not want to do a podcast because I was deathly afraid and embarrassed of the way my voice sounded or the way I spoke. And so how did you overcome that as a kid? What's that story?
I didn't as a kid. I really didn't. And I was in bands. I've been in bands since. And so you're in there and you're playing keyboards. So I'm doing background stuff. I do background vocals.
Yeah.
And then occasionally between songs, I'll say something or I'll go, oh, the crowd or whatever. And I see that response. I'm like, all right. And it just led me to, I tell you what it did. And this is probably a podcast in its own. The positive feedback gave me such confidence. Because, you want to hear more? Okay, I got more.
Yeah.
That type of thing. And then you have, I tell you, the breakthrough with me is the concept glorious ambivalence. I remember seeing Johnny Carson. He'd come out and he'd bomb in his monologue. And the people would even boo. What he came back with was gold. Even a look or something. His response was funnier than the joke was meant to be.
Right.
And he did not care if it bombed or not. And I'm thinking, all right, okay, you speak in front of people. I have hecklers. And it used to be, it was scared. Now it's a badge of honor. Hey, I got hecklers.
Yeah.
And I talked to a few of them, but I don't care. I don't care if you like it or not. I feel, and it's not a negative saying that, I feel strongly about saying this. And I get this from my mom, who passed a few years ago. If there were 100 people in the room and she had a contrary thought, in her way, she would just have to say it to put it on the record.
Got it.
And it was embarrassing as a child. Mom, put your hand down. Put your hand down.
Excuse me, I got something to say.
But over time, and I'm around a lot of songwriters, being in Muscle Shoals and in Nashville when I lived there, and they talk about the burden of songwriting. You get something in your head, you can't do anything until you get that out. So it's therapeutic.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, you know what? I'm going to embrace that and not let it build up. So glorious ambivalence means I'm going to say what I need to say. If you like it, great. If you don't, that's okay too. We can still be friends.
Yeah.
And then I had somebody come up to me one time. Ambivalence doesn't mean I don't care. It means you feel strongly both ways. I know that's what it means.
Yeah.
But I don't care. So it's so freeing.
Yeah.
Because I can be whoever I want to be.
Yeah.
And that can be challenging in corporate America. And I do shift it a little. And I've been very calm on my podcast so far.
Yeah.
So compared to the garage.
So because I cannot remember what episode it was. I think it was the most recent one. You had referenced something where you were in New York City and some guy Did you hear this one?
I have not.
Oh, this.
Go ahead.
You were talking about some guy was pretty much looking down at you because you were from Alabama.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Is that?
I remember it.
Tell that story because
His name is Bill.
As soon as you told me, I was like, "Fuck yes."
Yeah.
Tell that story.
And
because it shows you the culture difference in what, and I don't want to knock anybody from that like high business culture and that, but you definitely, that's like the stereotypical conversation point that when you told that story, I was like, I can 100% see that.
Oh yeah, you can, and you have your moments, but people know when I'm serious. You know, I'm a cut up. I like to have a good time. I want everybody to have a good time more than I want to have a good time because, hey, it's all part of it and we can talk about it later. Yeah. But we were in a corporate environment. In this particular situation, they bring 10 to 12 leaders of the company, and this is a big company. And I don't work there anymore for these reasons because, I want to do my own thing. But everybody's looking for their soundbite. I need to put something on the record, whatever. And so this guy, I make a comment or something, and he says something like, that might work in either Alabama or the South, but that would never work in the real world.
Wow.
And so I believe in triggers. And I've been prepared for if somebody says something like that, and I know somebody will say that, I got them. Yeah. So I pause and I say, well, Bill, I've made a pretty good career out of being underestimated by people like you.
Ooh, dude, so fucking
in
ice
the
cold.
gut. In
Just
the
ice
gut.
cold.
Yeah. And I didn't say anything, fill in the blank, because everybody in the room knows Bill.
Yeah.
And so I just said that, and then I went on with my point, and I expanded on the point because I deal in bullet points. Every bullet point has 20 bullet points.
Yeah.
But that was a way of diffusing that turd in my punch bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you don't have to be confrontational. I can go out in the hall and we can have a conversation. I'm not a fighter, so I'm not that redneck, let's take it outside. But hey, we can talk about it separately. But he was trying to embarrass me in front of a group.
Yeah.
You're not going to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a nice way to put it. Absolutely. I don't think facing conflict with more force is just asking for
everybody loses.
Yeah, everybody loses.
It's like
right.
wrestling with a pig.
Yeah, 100%.
You get it's a lot of fun.
I've never wrestled a pig, but I'm sure in the South they've done that.
Let me just tell you, it's a lot of fun, but you're going to get dirty.
Yeah.
Can we keep it to pig and not go to sheep?
Yeah. Wow.
Let's definitely keep it to pig.
Yeah.
My wife is so nervous right now. She listens to all my podcasts and she doesn't know that they're already launched a set to launch or whatever. And she goes, okay, that one's good. I went, okay, then I'll go.
I'll keep going. I'll keep going.
Let her keep thinking it's
she's the one who's getting them released.
Yeah. That's a successful marriage right
That's
there.
right, baby. Yes. 35 years.
You're right, honey. 37 plus, I think. I don't know. My whole life.
Oh, gee.
Ever since mom brought her home from the hospital. 2 times. Oh, she keeps up. She hates that.
Yeah.
She doesn't even say we're from Alabama. When somebody says, where are you from? She goes, Tennessee. Like that sophisticated. Yeah. We moved from the Shoals area to Chattanooga one time, and you would think that she was walking on a yacht when we got to Chattanooga.
Well to do is just
we made it.
Yeah.
Oh, she's great. I love her.
Yeah.
How do you guys like Vegas?
Yeah, why Vegas?
And why Vegas?
Yeah,
because
You're, actually, he's the second person from Vegas that we've been.
Yeah, I know. I just don't see you guys in Vegas. I'm like,
I know, Jeff. I always wanted to go to Vegas when I got to a certain age, just because. Speaking, one time I had 4 gigs in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
They were all in Mandalay Bay with 4 different companies.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I can do that as much as I want with less travel. And so I think, okay, that's the carrot for, I'll never retire, but okay, we can settle in there. Everybody flies to Vegas. Victoria and I were flying back from Nashville the other day. And for some reason, my travel agent, who is me, booked us through St. Louis and we were going to miss our flight. I looked at the next day. There were 12 flights from St. Louis to Vegas. And I fly all the time. And I'm thinking, it's a lot more convenient than San Diego. Yeah. Plus, just different advantages, tax advantages later in life. Yeah. Just that whole deal.
Yeah.
And I love the hot climate. I love the energy. I don't have a lifetime of raucous activity. I've got a lot of broken bones and all. So the heat helps. So all of those together, plus the guy across the street sold his house for an ungodly amount of money. And I'm thinking, okay, let's see. And I'm thinking, if I wait 2 more years when I plan to move, I could lose $250,000 in my house. And so I'm thinking, okay, let's see. And I've always trusted, I think things are going to work out. I'm a good guy, right?
I think so.
I'm maybe a jerk sometimes. I can be your turd if you mess with me. But I'm thinking, let's take a chance and go with it, and it'll work out.
It always does.
Yeah. You know what? God loves, what did he say? Drunks and fools. I'm there, buddy.
Yeah, baby.
So we rolled the dice, and it's been great. We found this house. It worked out. Within 2 months, we decided to sell our house. We sold our house and bought a house, and we were there. And that's the best way for us. If we overthink it, it's hard to overthink things with this brain. So let's just do it and then deal with the fallout. And it's been great so far.
Do you still get a lot of corporate talks and stuff like that in Vegas?
Oh yeah.
It makes it probably even more because
that's one of the reasons, because everybody goes there. Everybody goes there at some point, and each place has so many. And at any given time, there's over 500 events or speaking opportunities a day.
Jesus.
Still.
Wow.
Especially since everything's back to normal. Because you think about every one of them, you got 8 blocks a day. And they want somebody that comes in and, my daughter comes back and she said, we needed you so much today, because it's whatever the subject matter is, death by PowerPoint. Not with Dave. Y'all remember Donahue? When you go out in the crowd with the mic?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I'm more like Casey Donahue, country guy.
Yeah.
What's your process as far as, do you have a booking agent that does some of that stuff, or is this all comes through you?
It's all word of mouth.
And how do they find you? They just
OTALKS.com. Just go on there, and I have to check it. I check it like 3 times a day, and the way I do it, it's in blocks. And I teach that in time management, 3-block system. Block 1 is 8 to 12. Block 2 is 1 to 5. And block 3 is 6 to 10. And people will say, I see you're in this area. What's your availability? And I got some time in block 2. Or I said, no, can't do it that day. I'm back at this time. And that is it, dude. I've never solicited for any, and I'm not bragging, knocking on wood here. I'm not bragging. It's just happened because word of mouth is the best way, because they know who we are. And just like that guy said, you need an O-Talk. Same thing. I was in Orange County. We lived in Orange County, and I had a guy call, and he said he had a group of, I think it was 6 to 8 people. He said, can you come talk to us? My friend went to one of your deals, and he said, you guys need this. I show up, and it's 6 ministers.
Ooh.
And some of them you would know.
Oof.
I'm thinking, I'm thinking, if you guys are going to pass an offering plate, we're at the wrong spot. But it was the deal. And I don't think it's any secret. They were just stressed out. This is back in 2008, 2009, when the real estate bubble was about to pop in Orange County.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They were so stressed out, and they were stressed out. So their flock is coming to them, and they can see it in their eyes too. Cats in the rafters.
Yeah.
Cats in the rafters.
Mm.
From 1988 at a grocery store.
Yeah.
An idiot in there.
Man.
Cats in the rafters saved my life, man.
Yeah.
I'd like to get your thoughts on, you're not huge on the social media.
No, not by huge comparisons.
No.
In Sheffield, Alabama, I'm a dynamo. All 40 people.
That's one of the big things now is like everybody funnels everything through social media. And what I've found interesting is you're still as successful as you are, there's no real social media tied to it, which is really cool to me.
It's pretty wild.
Like,
when I was looking you up, I was exactly what I was.
Yeah.
Like, what's his Instagram handle? What's this? Does he have a TikTok? Does he do this?
Because I'm a one-man show, and I'm unsophisticated in that regard. And I think, if we're going to get into, we just did a episode with my daughter, only guest I've ever had, and she asked me these tough questions, ambushed me with these tough questions. I think part of it is a time issue. If it blew up, how arrogant is that? It's almost like in radio. I've been in some of those places where, thankfully, y'all don't have this. But if you had that on air sign, it's all of a sudden I sound like Sean Connery if it's on air. And I think part of it may be, I don't know if I have the time or if it would change my life if this really did. You can always say no, but I have a problem saying no. And so I would love to I would love to have somebody to take care of that, I guess. If I were 20 years younger, I would definitely, let's get in, let's hook this website up, let's social media and blast this. You take care of it for me. I'm a one-man show that dabbles.
I think that speaks volumes to the person you are and what information you put out there, because you book everything yourself, or people book into your blocks, right? Like you're not, there's so many times I see some motivational speakers or somebody on Instagram and I'm like, oh God, another talk. Okay.
Oh yeah. I know
and it gets a little bit much. And now Tony Robbins has got a big Instagram ad thing. I'm like, dude, you don't need you don't need these Instagram stuff. You got too much money, man.
Yeah.
Oh, that guy's something else.
So it's interesting to me that you still don't necessarily need any of that, and you're still getting a lot of the conversations. And I think that goes back to what you said. It's like like your older stories drive home some of your,
and there's a story everywhere.
Word of mouth is pretty much is powerful. That's what my business has grown on.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah,
third-party reference is the best reference.
It's the best.
And see, everybody won't get me. The masses would not get me. But if somebody gets me and tells somebody else, okay, all right, I'm already a one-up. And most of the time, if I go to a lot of the corporate events, it sounds, corporate event. You get me in a room with 12 people and give me a pad of those 3M sticky things you put on the wall.
Yeah.
I'm asking questions. I'm putting on the wall what they're saying. They can't say it doesn't pertain because they came up with it. Right. You always start with a story, and you can see people's faces. That's the challenge with a book where I wrote something 10 years ago. It's like, I can't believe I wrote that. It still pertains, but the technology's different. But when you walk out of a room and see people taking pictures of every one of those, and they're waiting on you outside to ask up that personal, I didn't want to say this in front of the group. I'm like, here's my email, call me. And it's people that get me, that's who I book. And so we come in and, I can't tell you how many times I can walk into a room, giddy up. I'm in Massachusetts. Yeah. You've never said that word before. Yeah. And it's cool. It's not that big, and I'm embellishing my importance to some degree. But to me, it's almost like, see that band up there singing and the crowd singing their song back to them? Yeah. Dude, you say giddy up to me, and that's like you're singing every word to a song to me because, you get it. Yeah. And that's my daughter, when she did the podcast, we were going toward the end. I said, anything else you want to say? She said, can I say giddy up? Yeah. That's the way she talks. Can I say giddy up? I mean, it's cool because it's real, and I get it. It may not be for you, but my methodology is be a good person, reflect. People are in your life that are feeding you constantly with something. And it may not come up for 10 years, may not come up for whatever, but yeah. And that helps to simplify it. And then you can use it. You can't use something complicated.
I resonate with that big time, especially in my field. And so I always say, like, I'm always interested in learning somebody's because I'm in fitness, right? Learning somebody's movement patterns or biomechanical patterns, right? And just learning what they do and watching them how, like, in my community, just because of what you just said, this is what I do. Like, I've identified 3 people in our community that have scoliosis that never knew they had scoliosis. And only because I had this one person who had scoliosis, and I'm like, I remember all those traits, all those markers. And then I see somebody else with the same movement patterns, and I'm like, that person that told me that scoliosis, now I'm applying it to 2 other people. Like, I have this issue with my hip. I'm like, let me see you squat. Oh shit, that looks like that movement pattern over there. Like and she fed me through her situation, and now I'm applying it to somebody else. That's powerful, dude.
Oh, and it's and the recall sometimes is the toughest part. I had a good friend. We would meet once a week and just get together and have breakfast because our paths were taking us different areas, and we had to make a point. If we don't make a point to get together, then we won't. It'll be something we meant to do. And he was in a business that was really struggling, a family business, really struggling to the point to where I'm 3rd generation. Do I call it quits? You ever cried in your pancakes? This was that type of, and it hit me. I didn't come up with this. I'm not an intelligent or sophisticated guy, but it hit me because I remember way back when in a basketball game, we were way down and we could have given up, but we came back and won from nobody counted on us winning. Right. And I've thought of that. And then to him, I said, I know you feel like you're close to the bottom, but what if you're at the bottom and from here on out, it's going to go up? And looking back, what if you quit this much closer to everything turning around?
Yeah.
And I did that because I thought of a ball game when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
We didn't give up. We kept going. Okay. It did turn around for him.
Yeah.
And he was like, but why did it have to get so bad? It wasn't 2 years ago to where somebody called me and said, oh, it was the same situation. I said, I can give you some advice, but let me give you a phone number. And I put him in touch with that guy.
Yeah.
Because if I say it, sometimes my words, because they think I'm a sales guy, is what I do. Oh, you're just giving me. No, I put him in touch with that guy. After they talked, he called me back. I said, dude, that's why you went through that pain. Not only to feel the success on the other side, but so you could tell that guy. And that guy is going to tell another guy. And I believe that with all my heart.
I feel that from you. Yeah. I do. I feel that from you big time. And you said something else. God bless your mom. Oh. Yeah. You know what I mean? You are taking your life experiences from all of that and you're just applying it to be of service. And that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to start this. And since we started the episode, I've had people come to me like, oh my God, I listened to the episode. And by the way, our very first episode was about addiction. Yeah. And I just told Jeff the story today. And I'm like, somebody in our community came into me and she's like, I had a seizure the other day. And I said, oh, and she says, but they're not finding anything else out. But I did go on a bender. And then I heard your episode on addiction. I think I'm going to stop drinking again. And that was like powerful. And again, all that came from me sharing about my addiction and my upbringing and sharing that experience with that on a broader platform versus just having one-on-one conversations.
That openness. You're willing to, if you hadn't been willing to do that.
To tell my story. Yeah. And that's all we're doing.
And sometimes you do it for other people because I don't care what you're going through or what you've been through. There's people out there struggling with it right now. And I say it over and over to the point that my wife told me to stop saying it. I don't do it to be noble or to be this giving guy.
Right.
My mom, I've talked about my mom, and goodness, every third or fourth pie she made, we got to keep. Everything else went to take care of somebody else.
That's powerful.
You got to die or be sick to get a pie around here, Mom. But that's that giving mentality and service mentality. I don't really have that. But intentionally, I think I've inherited some of that.
You got it. You do.
I think I do, but it's almost like that songwriter mentality. I got to get this out. I can't write enough books to get all this out. Podcasts, talk for a couple of hours a week, and I can get it out. And you know what? If I forgot to say something, or I should have said that.
I got another one coming.
I can say it somewhere else, and nobody's correcting my grammar.
Right.
Which is a full-time job.
But you are servicing, and that's huge. And that's like you're absolutely providing service. And although you feel like you're just doing it to get it out, the act of getting it out, because we could all be selfish and not get it out at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the reality. I can sit here and go, well, I had a shitty childhood. I'm not going to freaking share anything about it. And I did overcome it. I'm just going to keep it to myself. I'm not going to say shit about it. And that's not of service. It's almost embarrassing. Like the fact that we're doing this podcast right now is indicative of us going, I just want to be of service.
Yeah. It is. It's funny you say that because the best kind of leadership is service leadership.
100%.
And you can't call it that because it's too floopy. So you go in and you talk about this and you talk about culture.
Yeah.
And you talk about all these different things. But you build that culture of teamwork and helping people out. And if people were to, and I'm probably giving away a lot of consulting money right now, but if you take it down to the simplest thing, people want to talk to people. People want to buy. They don't want to be sold. People want to feel part of a team. Don't tell somebody to do something you haven't been through yourself. And sincerity is the key.
Yeah.
Oh, if you're sincere, people will listen more than if you're rattling off some fantastic stuff. But if it comes from the heart and you pause and you look at people, especially if you make them think about a story from their past they can hold on to.
Yeah.
I will do things. I remember I was in Panama City in Alabama. To go to the beach, you go to Panama City, and every June after school, you go to Panama City. And I remember I've never told this story. I remember being in a chair with my buddy. We were having a good time. We were so sunburned. I was in a chair. We're all going to get earrings.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
And I was the first one. And they pushed me to the front. Why they push me to the front? Anyway, I'm sitting there and the guy's coming. He'd already swabbed me.
Yeah, baby.
And I do this side. I don't even know never mind. But he starts.
You don't know which
you know what I was going to say.
Yeah, exactly. Which one is the right side?
This could be a life-changing moment. One of these.
We've just aged ourselves right now. Yeah. All right, now you can pierce both sides. Okay,
I got on my showing brain. And, yes. Anyway, this guy is coming at me, and I look at him, and I remember because there was two of them coming at me, honestly, and I was just like, I can't. My dad would be so disappointed.
Yeah.
And that was it. A lot of things, that's the way I was raised. Mm-hmm. And that was the worst thing you could possibly say to your peer group. My dad will be disappointed.
Yeah.
That over everything.
Yeah.
I could probably make my mom laugh and get away with it. I could wear her earrings if I had to. She had the clamp on, so that wouldn't work.
You could have got away with that.
But that's, you know what? Maybe I did this wrong.
Yeah. You fucked up.
Cut up, hey. Cut off, clap on, baby. Let's go.
Dude. And I got such saggy earlobes now, I could have blamed it on those heavy clamps.
100%.
I missed an opportunity.
You would have made a good looking
totally
drag,
make it now.
drag
Are you still in the band?
You're getting on Amazon.
Yeah, right now. Clamp on earrings, baby. Let's go. But one of the things I was talking to Jeff about before you walked in was like, dude, unlike podcast, I didn't want to do one.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm scared because I don't people, talk speaking. But one of my secret ambitions is to speak publicly. And it's a secret. Now it's no longer a secret.
Yeah.
We're probably going to put that out there, right? Now we're going
to. There's no secrets in this.
Yeah.
That's not being edited out.
That's not being edited out, son of a bitch.
After you edit me, this is only going to be 15 minutes. So we need the content. We need the content.
Yeah, this is only 10-minute conversation.
So
crazy.
When you say it happened organically, there had to have been a catalyst. There had to have been something like speak public. You talked briefly about it. You went over it real quick, right? How did that come about? And what did you do in your first speaking engagement? What was that first thing? Is you want me to go talk to people? What the hell? This is my biggest fear. Like the first podcast, the very first podcast, we haven't even aired. We shared it with a couple people. Yeah. And we were like, this is what it is. Yeah. You seem a little nervous at first, Omar, because I fucking was, dude. Yeah. I was, dude. I was like, shit. But now I've gotten so much more relaxed speaking into the mic. What was that first thing for you? And what did you bring up? You tell that story.
I'd gotten comfortable talking into groups of just sales teams.
Right.
And most of it, okay, I got these guys together. I know them. I hired them.
Yeah.
And they're accountable to me.
Right.
That was a lot easier.
Yeah.
But even before that, I remember I was in a senior play in high school. I'm not an actor. The entire high school was out there. And I remember people forget their lines. I hate silence.
Yeah.
I use silence. And if I'm negotiating, I'll use it, whatever. But I couldn't stand it up there, especially when everybody else was scared to death and they would forget their lines. I'd throw in ad libs. And the front row was losing their mind because usually it was an inside joke with the group. And at that point, I was absolutely hooked in that. The chance of the response being over the top is worth the risk of it completely bombing.
Yeah.
And when it hit, there's nothing like it. In that one moment, golf, first 16 holes, I am ready to quit. How can I get rid of these clubs? I'm throwing these clubs in the lake.
All it takes is one shot.
The drive on 18. Can we play tomorrow?
Yeah.
That was it. And you get them, and it was the laughter side of things. One time somebody booked me as a Christian comedian. Oh, that's what I did.
I can see that.
But no, I get up in front of the group, and the first thing I say, and I'm pretty blue in all my stuff. Is that the right term?
Yeah.
Blue means good.
Yeah.
I had somebody the other night call me the Bob Saget of motivational speaking because they went out with me after.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, we didn't expect this.
Yeah.
But first thing I said to that group is, Christian comedian, huh? So I've got to be moral and funny at the same time? I don't know, guys. I had them.
That was it.
I had them. And so at that point, it's freeing. That's like before I would sing. I would say something if I had them. Every OTALK I do, you know how I start it? The same way every time. I go, they may introduce me. And if they introduce me, it's what I told them to say. I go, how y'all doing?
Yeah,
And
got
just
him.
look at the crowd, and I know who I've got, and I know who I don't. And there's always 2 or 3 that are like, oh no,
There's another redneck.
Larry the Cable Guy.
Yeah.
And the old guys, Jerry Clower. Jerry Clower?
No, I don't know.
Most people don't.
No.
You're missing out.
Yeah.
That was the Larry Cable Guy of 50 years ago.
Got it.
But I know the whole crowd in one statement.
Wow.
And so now I got you.
Yeah.
Do you, in those circumstances, do you feel like you gear your conversation or some of your comments towards those people you don't have?
100%.
Or you avoid them?
I remember Clyde. It's years ago. Clyde was just like this, arms crossed, scowl on his face. And I always do, sir, what's your name? And most of the time when they tell me their name, no, that's not going to work for me. I will call you depending, and I'll make it funny depending on what they look like. But I said,
no stereotypes here, right?
I'm not racist. I'm from Alabama. Come on. And so,
Southern white guy. I'm not racist.
I look at this guy and I say, sir, what's your name? He's not falling for it.
Yeah.
Somebody across the room goes, it's Clyde. And he's, I'm thinking, his name is Clyde. I said, Clyde, I've been watching you. You've been sitting with your arms crossed this whole time with that scowl on your face. You're a nipple breather, aren't you? I said, that's why you got that look on your face. You can't breathe. Unfold your arms. And I'm doing this. I'm in front of 1,000 people.
Rubbing
Come
your
on,
nipples.
Clyde.
Let's go.
Work it out. Work it out.
Oh my God.
Oh, he was mortified at first, and everybody was patting him on the back. And when Clyde smiled,
got him.
I don't care if anybody liked anything else I said. Clyde grinned at my nipple breathing comment. Hey,
I would have been crying.
You talk about a risk, though. Clyde could have been the owner. I didn't know. So take that risk. And you know what? Glorious ambivalence comes in.
Yeah.
If he didn't like it, you guys love that story.
Yeah.
Boom, I'm paid again.
Yeah.
So it's just, I guess I'm really a selfish SOB because I really do all this for myself.
Yeah.
I just want you to laugh at me.
Yeah.
And it's, if Freud were here, he would probably dig into my insecurities or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah. That's funny. That's why I coach. People are like, you're always so giving. And that's why I coach. It's selfish. It really is.
Yeah.
And people are like, why? For me, we talked about this with Steven. It's for me, an act of service keeps me out of my addiction. But also the payday. People think, and I'm not talking about money.
Yep.
I'm talking about the return on my investment. And so my investment of time, knowledge, energy, love, compassion, empathy, all that. And the return on the investment is to see the growth in that individual.
That's it.
And that's huge, man. It's selfish. If you really down to the core, it is so freaking selfish.
100%.
And it's, you're like, but your selfishness helped me. And I'm like, yeah.
But Omar, thank God you're so selfish.
Yeah.
If you were so selfish, so many people wouldn't have a path.
Yeah. And so it's a win-win across the board. You're sharing your life, you're sharing the experience, you're investing into others, and you're seeing seeds being planted. And we talked about this again, watching those seeds grow is just phenomenal. Yeah. It's the best payday ever.
Yeah. It's few things. I'm an emotional guy to some degree. Emotional. I get pumped up or whatever, but to tear up, certain things get.
Yeah.
Man,
I'm a crier.
Stupid videos of soldiers coming home early. Don't do that. Or the dog and the baby growing up at the same time. That was from the devil.
Yeah.
So those get me every time. But if somebody comes up and has a comment like that,
right,
and you never know where it's going to come from.
Yeah.
I have some people will come up and say a certain podcast, and they'll do a throwaway line that I didn't plan to say, but I thought of it, and it's just put it in the content.
Yeah.
They'll bring that up.
Wow.
Oh, to talk about divine intervention, but somebody else is in control of this mouth. I promise. And sometimes no one is in control of this mouth.
The car is driving by itself. Tesla, you had the first Tesla ever, baby.
Yeah. This is Thelma and Louise.
Yeah, baby.
Off the bluff, baby. Hold on hard. We're going to hit some.
Hell yeah, baby. Let's go.
Do you, with some of the transformation of the corporate climate, right? Like more millennials coming in and Gen Zers coming. Have you seen differences in some of the course talks you've had to give, or motivational talks you've had to give because of the different mentality in the corporate world now? Or is that something you just, it plays off, your conversation is geared towards everything.
And it's a great question because I preface what I say with how, I'm not, I didn't come from Harvard. I don't have all this. I'm not woke. I'm not politically correct. I'm not any of this stuff. And so what happens is with the questions I get, my content's the same because it's stories and sound, I'll say sound principles. Mm-hmm. And then with the questions coming, those are cooler than just a lecture type situation because we can go off to the nuances. I have found, to get back to your question, the question's a little different. And that certain age group, they're asking, and it's always the same thing. Yeah, but what about? And when they do that, okay, all right. And I'll play along with them. So, okay, tell me what you mean. Okay, tell me a little more. And they end up realizing they're just trying to get that soundbite or say something. And the more they talk, they put themselves in a corner and the whole group's again. I just let them go. But if they're sincere, if they're trying to get a gotcha moment, I'll do that. But if they're sincere, we do a back and forth. And it hasn't been as bad as I thought it would be. I think because they get who I am by what I'm talking about in my shtick or whatever. But what I have noticed recently, you get under it, some of the new people, and I don't, I'm not in HR here. I can say young, can I?
Yes.
Yeah.
The younger people, they're more thirsty. They're less worried about this. I'm seeing a trend with that. These people just getting out of college and coming in, they've never been in sales. They are hungry. And we have a lot of one-off conversations.
Right.
But I haven't had to change my stuff because mine's pretty straightforward.
But I think you don't have to change it either because just sitting in here for the last 45, we're at 50 minutes now.
So we're halfway. And for the record, since I was 40 years old, this is the longest I've ever gone without peeing.
That comment's going to make me pee. But
my prostate's the size of a cantaloupe right now.
But to get back, I think you don't have to change it because it's sincere and because it's coming from the heart.
Yeah.
And I think no matter what culture, woke, not, or what have you, young, old, if it's coming from a good, genuine place, I don't think it matters. I don't think you have to pivot. And so we talk about this when I talk about my relationship with God, right? And like, I'm not the typical Christian whatsoever, right? And so what does that mean? I believe that there's a God. I believe this is, and I believe, I'm not going to cram that down your throat, but that's my belief.
Yeah.
Like, you have yours, I have mine. It doesn't change the message that I give.
That's it.
It doesn't change because it comes from a place of genuine care, love, compassion, and wanting to serve people, period. Right? And so if you have that, you have somebody who's trying to get the I got you moment, your message is not for them because they're not ready for it.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that was a tough discernment. Everybody doesn't need to like me. And the older I get, hey, dude, if I can get X%, if I can have a small group, and see, I think, Jeff, go back to earlier, I think if I were huge on social media presence and push that, I think I would fall prey to what are they saying? What do they need? What do they want? And I would change my message more. Yeah. Now it's just, hey, it's just me and a bunch of guys with mullets putting up the horn saying,
baby.
Yeah, let's go.
Sweet. I'm getting into it. My brother, I've been working on it with my brother.
It's the
Dom,
voice.
Dom, if you're listening to this, hey, I want to be a lead singer in your band.
Oh, you're in. Problem, there's no keyboards in death metal. Or there shouldn't be. My son's a drummer, and I kid because drummers and bass players get a lot of crap.
Right.
Everybody talks about drummers and bass players. I said, I'm a keyboard player and we don't get any crap because no one even considers us as part of the band. I'd love a little abuse.
So Dave, thank you for coming in. We've
been great.
Definitely kept you on up and Omar's on a schedule now. So anyway,
I apologize for that.
It's okay. I could sit here and listen to you talk,
forever, dude.
Talk for a while. Your stories are amazing, but so let the listener know where they can find you, your podcast. What was that again?
OTALKING with Dave. Yeah. It's on most of the platforms, but OTALKING with Dave. And then I'm on all the podcast platforms, but OTALKS.com, OTALKS.com. You can hear them all on there too. And I'm not selling anything. If you want to buy something, that's fine. But you can hear all of my stuff there. And then I perform. Just hit me. If you got a group or something that'd like to hear me come talk, I usually do it for about an hour because I can't even stand my voice more than an hour. But I'll come talk to your group. If it's faith-based stuff, I'm in the area. There's no charge on that.
Thank you very much,
Oh,
man.
so good to see you, buddy.
It was so good catching up with you.
Yeah,
Man.
heck yeah, man.
It was a pleasure meeting you.
Giddy up.
This has been an international podcast transmission of No Fixed Agenda presented by Bubs Naturals. You can rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or wherever you find your favorite podcast episodes. NFA, over and out.